And now we turn to Daf of Zayin Beis. Mimotz is Amrit Hadein Techatos Tikariv Ola. This behema, which is a kivsa, and it is female, and therefore it cannot be used for an ola. The ola has to be a keves zachar. Is hacha and a keva, v'hacha zachar. The korban chatas has to be in a keva. It could only be from a keva. The ola has to be from a zachar. It can only be from a zachar. So each one of the behemoths is ru'uyos rak l'korban echad, and therefore it's like pirish, and therefore it's not comparable at all to the case of an ophos, which is stumin, because each one of the ophos could be either an ola or a chatos. So Rav Shimi Bar Ashi did not concede to the logic of Rav Papa, because if you have 3 parim, cows, which are not ru'uyos l'karbanos nazir, and they are considered like most stumin, and therefore even shalosh behemoths are ru'uyos l'karbanos of shal nazir, lo yekim furashim legamre. That was the logic of Rav Papa, but Rav Shimi rejects this. The gender of the animal is the proof, and therefore it's not ru'uyah for the other carbon. Then ein lecha mefurash gadol mizeh. That's mamish like pirish. So from the statement of Rav Chizda with regard to ophos, that the halacha Moshe Sinai, that if he didn't designate this one for chatos in the mixture, is the whole tyrovus goes to the nedava, that applies even beyond the limit restricted area of mos. And that's what we proved from Rav Chizda with regard to ophos. Now we go back and we raise the same objection to that school of Amoraim who interpreted that halacha Moshe Sinai is limited to mos and only applies to mos. Now at this point, the Gemara moves over to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman, back on Daf Chavav Amid Beis, had told us that a behemoth balas mum has the halacha of mos stumin because you can easily sell it. Masechet Rav Hamnuna mi amrina behemoth balas mum kistumin damya. It's like mos stumin, and it goes to the nedava because a balas mum is easily sellable. You don't have to wait till it has a mum. Toshma, I'm going to ask you a kasha from a brayso. Kate said, Amru. In what case do we apply the halacha Moshe Sinai of mos stumin? So ish megaleach. Megaleach means he brings his karbanos al naziris aviv. And this can be a whole sugya later on, that a son who his father who was a Nazir, had been mafresh karbanos of Nazirus, but then his father died. Now he, the son, is makabel on himself Nazirus. He can use the mos that his father designated for his father's karbanos Nazirus for his own Nazirus. Is when does this apply? That there was an overlap at a moment of time in which both the father and the son were Nazir. One second. So again, where we say here that both the father and the son were Nazirim, it means dafka b'zeh harzeh, not b'vasachas. So again, Kate said, Amru, in what circumstance do we apply the halacha Sinai? That the son who's a Nazir can use his father's mos of Nazirus for his own personal korbanos. That's bisman shehu Nazirim. The hifish of most of the Nazirus umeis. Oh, so the father died after he was mafresh mos for his Nazirus, and he wasn't mafarish which mos go for which carbon, and then the son was makabel on himself Nazirus. Omar, the son declared, "Areini Nazir Amanas Shagalech al mos ab." So again, if the son was already a Nazir while his father was still alive, and they overlapped with Nazirus, and then the father was mafresh mos, that Nazirus goes for that mos goes for the Nazirus of the father, and the son cannot bring karbonos of Nazirus from those mos that his father designated for his karbonos, for the father's karbonos. And the only time we apply the halacha Moshe Misine that the son could use his father's designated mos for his own Nazirus, for the son's Nazirus, that's only if after his father died, he accepted upon himself Nazirus. Hayulo mos stumos. I'm not sure why the Gemara now says, the Brisa says, Hayulo mos stumos. I mean, that's exactly what we were talking about. So in other words, the father was not piresh, or maybe you use the word mefarish, I don't know if that's a good word, but anyway, he was not piresh the mos that he was mafresh for which carbon is yiplu and idava, then the carbonis could, or the mos could fall for an olas nidava, like mosar mos shel nazis. Hoysalo behema mefureshes. Chatos, let's say the father during his lifetime had designated this animal as a chatos, is tamus. That animal is lamisa because of mesu, chatos mesu bala. Now, if it was mafresh one behema as an ola, tikarif ola, one behema as shlami, yikarvu shlamin. So now comes along Rav Himnuna and he makes the following diuk. Then when it says the Brisa, it says in the Brisa, mos stumin yiplu nidava, that's only mos. But if the father left behemos stumin, then the din would be otherwise. And we would not apply the halach l'moshe misinai. My lava filu balas mum. Right? We didn't see in this Brisa any limitation rule. And even if it was mafresh 3 behemos that were balas mum, and he didn't designate which behema would be for which carbon, is they would all be like mifurashos and yelchu lemisa. So we see here that even a behema balas mum, even though you could sell it immediately, it has a din of mifurashos, and that's against Rav Nachman, who said that a balas mum, since it could be sold immediately, has the same status as mos, and therefore we apply the din of stuma and yiplu l'nidava. And where it says lo, tmima. Your dik in the price is not accurate, it's not correct. We don't find that the behema has a din of mefureshes and should go lemisa unless it's a tmima. Because a tmima, as we said, it's not immediate for sale because you have to wait till it has a mum. But in the case of behemas balas mum, it has the same status as mos and yiplu l'nidava. So the Gemara objects, and the Gemara says that if you're telling me that it's only if he was mafresh a behema tmima, then it has the din of mefuroshos. Aval balas mum kistuma damya is my irya mos lema hoysalo behema balas mum yiplu l'nidava. Why did the Tana of the Brisa in the din of Yiplu Nidava, why did he limit himself to mos? He should have said even in behemos, if it was a behema balas mum, it has the same status as mos, and therefore Yiplu Nidava. So when he was mafresh 3 animals that were balas mum, Yiplu Nidava. So again, the Seifa is talking about a case of hoysel behema mefureshes. So in the Reisha, he should have also said that in the case of Beimim Fureshes, if it was Balas Mum, then Yiplul Nidamid, it has the same status as Mos. And the Gemara says, Ochinami, you're right. And that is the din, that a Behemoth Balas Mum has the same status as Mos, and it's Yiplul Nidamid, it's Stumos. Why? Because Balas Mum, Lamai Kedisha, there's no Kedusha Guf, Mizbeach in the case of a Balas Mum. So the whole Hegdesh exhausts itself in Damim. It's only a Kedusha's Damim, Udami Hainu Mos. So therefore the animal has the status of Mos. It's only royally Mocher B'Damim, and therefore it has the same exact status as Mos. So even though the Tana only mentions Mos explicitly, but it also includes Behemoth Balas Mum. Because what is a Behemoth Balas Mum if not Kedusha's Damim? There's no Kedusha Guf L'Mizbeach in Balas Mum. Masiv Rava. Now we're adding another kasha against Rav Nachman, who on Chavavam and Beis was of the opinion that a Behemoth Balas Mum is like Mos Dumin. And this is based on a Mishnah in Krisus, on Daf Chav Zayin and Beis. Let's say a man is chayav chatos, he ate chalev or whatever, and he was mafresh a behemoth, then he died. His son, as it were, was also chayav chatos. And the question is whether the ben could bring his father's behemoth that his father was mafresh for the ben's own chatos, or let's say a person is mafresh a behemoth on one specific chet. And now he violates a second chet. Can he bring the behemoth that he was mafresh for chet A as a chatos for chet B? Or for example, let's say he was mafresh a chatos on chalev, and then a second time he ate chalev. Can he kill two birds with one stone and bring the original chatos for his second achilus chalev? And the Brisa is going to go through the psukim and derive conclusions. All these psukim are in the parsha of Nasi Shechata, Vayikra Dalet, where it says in the pasuk, Hoda Elov Chatoso Shechata Ba Vehevias Karbano. And we're going to emphasize the word karbano. The karbano hu yotze, then yotze be karban aviv. So it would seem that even if his father violated the same avera as he violated, he can't use the karban of his father, that his father was mafresh for his own chiyuv, because it says karbano. Yachol. Now this is a long, long brisa. This brisa will take us almost until the next mission on Chav Ches Amud Aleph. Yochel, I might think, when do we apply this principle of Lo Yetze B'Karban Shel Aviv? That's only because Hifrish Min HaKala L'Chamuro Min HaChamuro L'Kala. That the father was mafresh a karban chatos for an avera kala, like for example for nida, chalev, or dam, which is only a chiv kares, or misa b'dei shemayim. And the ben wants to use this chatos for an avera chamura, like chil Shabbos sheish bas skila. Oh, the opposite, min chamura ala kala. The father was mafresh a behemoth chatos for a desecration of Shabbos, and the ben wants to bring this chatos for eating chalev or dam b'shogeg. And in these cases where there's no identity between the chet and the chatos of the father and the chet and the chatos of the son, therefore the son cannot be yotze his obligation with the carbon of his father. Aval yotze b'karban shefrish aviv min hakala lakala min hachamura lachamura. If let's say both the father and the son violated an avera within the same category. Let's say the father and the son both violated Shabbos. So the father and the son both violated either dam or chelev. Talmud Lomar. Karbano. It says the word karbano twice. And as we saw before, but now we have another karbano. Ohodai lav chatasa shachot vevi karbano. Karbano hu yotze vedi yotze b'karbano shalav. He cannot use the carbon of his father, even if both the father and the son have violated averos on the same level of chumras avera. Yachal, I might think, okay, lo yetze b'karbano v'behema shehifrish. Even if both the father and the son violated the same level of averos, the son cannot use the behema that his father was mafresh. As we said before, if there was an overlap of a nazirus of the father and a nazirus of the son, and the father had been mafresh karbanos for his own personal nazirus, his son cannot use those karbanos for his own nazirus. And if we're going to apply that here to the case of a chatos for eating chelev, for example, b'shogeg, so only if the father was mafresh a behema, the ben cannot be yotzi his chova. So that's a din in behema. The behema that the father designated cannot be used for the nazirus of his son, and therefore, in the case of chatos, the behema that the father designated for a karban chatos, reading chelev, for example, could not be used for the son. But what about mos? Avol yotze b'mos shehifrish aviv. If his father wasn't mafresh a behema, but rather he was mafresh mos, one second. His father was mafresh mos for karban chatos, his own chatos, and then the son could use those mos for the son's chatos, and that would apply afilu min hachamura al hakalo, min hakalo al chamura. If the father was mafresh mos, for example, for violating the Shabbos, and the ben now wants to bring a korban for eating dam or chelev. And if the averos were chamuros, they both violated kalos, so they both violated chamuros, is then hare odom megalech al ma'os aviv b'nazirus. We already find a breakthrough, a paradigm that the son could be makriv with his karbanos of a Nazir with the most that his father designated. Again, if he's makabel Nazirus after his father's death, is Adam megalech al mos aviv b'Nazirus. Nazir yachal lahavi as karbanos mimos aviv shaviv hifresh avur karbanos Nazir shal atzma, meaning of the father. Kigo the mace of the Amar Ben. After the father died, the son declared already Nazir al manash hagalech al mos ava. And here we turn to Daf Samach, to Daf Chof Ches, is Bisman Shem Stumin, because the father did not designate specifically which would be a chatas, which would be an ola. Is therefore the ben could use these mos for his karbanos of nazirus v'lo Bisman Shem Mefurashim. But if the father said that these mos here are for a chatas, these are for an ola, these are for a shlamim, then the son cannot bring his karbanos of nazirus with mos mefurashim. And therefore, argues Rava, here too, we should say that the son could bring a chatos from the mos that his father was mafresh for himself. So again, the logic here of the Brisa is that in the case of karbanos, the son cannot use, but in case of mos, where we have a breakthrough and the son can be megalech on the mos of his father. So therefore, in the case of mos stumin, where the father was not piresh, what goes for chatas, what goes for all of the ben should be able to use those mos for his karbanos. But if they're mefurashim, that's something else. If the father was piresh, which mos go for chatos, the ben cannot bring those mos for his karbanos and nazirus, and therefore gam kan here too nomar sheyuchal ben lahavi chatos mimos shehifrish ha'av avur atzmo. Talmud lomar. Now we have a third time it says karbano in Vayikra Dalid in keves yavi karbano lechatos, and from the word karbano we derive that bikarbano hu yotze v'eino yotze bikarbon aviv. Even in the mos that his father was mafresh, he the son cannot be yotze his chiyuv with those mos that his father was mafresh. Just like in the case of a karban mamish, where he derived from Sukkim, the earlier drashos, that the son cannot use those karbanos, so too now he cannot use the mos that his father was mafresh. So officially we ran out of time, but we're mamish smack in the middle of this price. So I'm gonna, if you want to stay on, I'm gonna continue with this price, and then we'll review it Belinetta tomorrow. Yachol, the price now raises the possibility. Lo yetze b'moshe hifrish. The son cannot be yotze his chovas chatos with the father's mos that the father was designated for chatos. Afilu min akala lakala min o min achamura ala chamura. But at least the son, if he was mafresh a korban for himself, for a chet, is he can use that korban for another chet. Another pasuk ve'evi karbano al chatoso ad karbano l'shum cheto. Yochol yetze v'behema she'ifish liatzmo min akala min achamura alakala afilu min akala chamura min achamura alakala sheken im hifrish behema al chelev vehevi al adam o al adam vehifrish al chelev lo yotzi yidei chovaso. Okay, so this is, I think, where we could stop. Let me just make a note.